And that means Mary Katharine Ham is here. MK, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Fresh off a just stellar engagement on Real Time with Bill Maher. You did a super job. There's a moment I want to run by you, and then we're going to talk a little bit about elections, because you've been looking at how ridiculously long it's taking for things to happen and the absurdities of Pennsylvania. Bill Maher is on the Mount Rushmore of fairly reasonable people who still consider themselves Democrats. He was so contorted about this. He didn't concede. This is a danger to democracy. I wanted to rise up on behalf of tens of millions of voters and say, of course he still feels like he got screwed in 2020. He probably did to some degree. The good news is, with his return, that all blissfully seems not to matter. How did that all strike you there in the studio?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that bothers me is that part of, as I told him, part of democracy is listening to voters. Right? And Democrats put to voters whether January 6th was the end of the world, whether it was 9/11, whether it was the only thing that matters. And voters said, no, it's not the only thing that matters. The problem is they put it up against voters' regular lives, and voters notice that Democrats actually engage in election denialism, as they're doing in Pennsylvania right now, where Bob Casey, I think, has yet to concede. And as Bill Maher noted, he said, hey, if Trump had not won, we'd be in Pennsylvania looking for phantom votes that were going to show up at some point. And I said, funny you should say that, because let me tell you about what they're doing in Pennsylvania right now.
And that's what he said. Nobody cares about Bob Casey. He said, everybody cares about Bob Casey. Everybody cares about the McCormick Senate seat. It's crazy that it took this long. It's crazy that it took Josh Shapiro, another supposedly reasonable Democrat, that long to cry foul. And there are still votes 2 weeks. We're still counting votes in California. How does this happen?
It's so disgraceful. So the thing that should motivate California to do better next time is that Trump got an incredible narrative for 2 weeks about his substantial win, which remains substantial. But if they had counted their votes quickly, it would not have been the same story for the last 2 weeks. But they created that because they decided they were going to take 2 weeks to count votes. And I don't know how anyone there can have confidence in what they're doing. Make America Florida again. I mean, we got to just get everybody counting votes on night one. It's ridiculous.
All right, couple of minutes. Let's do something we could do a couple of hours on. I've already talked about Matt Gaetz. I've talked about the cabinet. I've done this. I've done that. You are a conservative. You are a woman. You, however, have a heart and want people treated with dignity. Me too on all the above. We have a trans congressperson, Sarah McBride. And now I think we make Sarah a one-holer, a restroom that she can use. Here we are. What's the best way out of this? Because there are two bad answers. One is to say, let this person into the women's room. I don't think that's a good message for women. So I don't know. What's your solution?
Yeah, I think, well, part of it solves itself, because I think a lot of these offices have their own bathrooms. So this person can use the one in her office. The other issue, I think, is, and this is something that people spoke about in the election, like they're done with being pushed around on these issues and told that they're bad people if they have concerns about it. So I think women are allowed to say, hey, I have limits on this. I don't want to be in a bathroom where I don't know who's going to be in there, right? So there needs to be a unisex one that's clearly marked, or we need to do this differently. But you do need to listen to women. Remember, believe all women? You need to listen to women on these kinds of issues, particularly when it comes to like a dressing room situation. A bathroom is a little more cash, but a dressing room or something along those lines, or a locker room for minors, these are things that people are actually upset about, and Democrats insisted on bullying them for a long time about them. And now it's going to be out in the open, and it's going to be a pretty serious fight in some places.
That it is. Well, listen, just pleasure to see you on with Bill Maher. Pleasure to have you here. Great to talk to you when I'm in here, Mary Katharine. Thank you so much. And everybody watch the Getting Hammered podcast. You and Vic do a great job. Thank you, MK. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Mark.